Got it.
Okay, here we are. Ed, good to see you, mate.
Hello. Sorry about the Catherine on the bottom of my screen. That's my wife. But there we go. Yes. Hello. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, good to see you too, Mia. Just to clarify, everyone that's watching this on replay, um, this is Ed Smith. It's not Catherine, unfortunately. She's definitely the brains and the beauty of the outfit, but we'll have to part with Ed today. So Ed is. Let me go through a little bit of history about how I know Ed and what he kind of means to me. I met Ed in 2018 when I did a trek, the Naukluft Trail in Namibia, which was my first kind of sort of quote adventure trek, and I did that through a mutual friend of ours called John, who runs or used to run Executive Stretch, which is executive leadership program. It took people to far-flung areas of the world, and he tied that in with executive coaching as well. I was lucky enough to know John on a personal level, and he invited me on the trip. That's where I met Ed. Ed was leading that trek, and Ed has since gone on to take over Executive Stretch. So in the last sort of few years, Ed's kind of gone from being the guy that was sort of leading it to the guy that's now owning it and kind of running this whole big empire. This whole big, taking people to far-flung areas of the world on his own, off his own back. With his tight knit team. So I thought, well, what a perfect opportunity to hook up again. A couple of years ago, I should say, he also took me to the Atlas Mountains in Morocco, which was a hell of a trek. Found that one very, very tough, but it was brilliant. Ed's a highly respected in his industry. Very safe pair of hands. I can't wait for him to tell us a bit more about the Winter Warrior Challenge that he's got lined up for us. But first and foremost, why don't you give us a quick rundown about your history, where you got here, and what you do sort of as your day job. So I think it's really interesting. You can tell all the guys at home.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, thank you very much. Obviously, yeah, so I work full time in the outdoors, but my main day job is working at the school where I run all of the outdoor activities there. So my title is Director of Outdoor Education, and as well as you've said, I run Executive Stretch kind of on the side, and we do these interesting expeditions. I guess the way that I got into the outdoors and everything that I do is just, to be honest, it's because it's something that I've always really loved, since I was a kid. I started working in the outdoor industry when I was 16 years old, because I was just out in a place in France and wanted to do activities but couldn't afford to do them. So I just went and offered my services to do whatever they wanted if they let me go climbing and canoeing and stuff, and got taken on as an assistant instructor. And that was a long time ago now. So, and like I say, I've been working at the school for about 10 years, and it's a similar amount of time that I've been working with Executive Stretch. But obviously I've known John, the guy who founded it, for many, many years. I, in my sort of world of expertise, I'm mainly focused on mountain stuff. I do some bushcraft things as well, which, that's another story. But for the purposes of this, I do both summer and winter mountaineering stuff, as we call it. Now, just to clarify, we count mountaineering as everything from like hill walking, going to the Lake District and walking up one of the hills there, to sort of climbing up cliffs and dangling off the side of a sea cliff or whatever it might be. So most of the time when we hear about mountaineering, and particularly snow and everything, everyone's mind just jumps into climbing up Everest or doing something like that. But the reality of most of us around the UK, we work in the Scottish hills, and it's an amazing place, really. It's really accessible, obviously, for us. And I've been doing winter stuff a bit less time, but probably for more about 5 or 6 years. I've been really working up in the winter Scottish stuff. I've done loads of skiing before that and things, and that used to be my main obsession, was skiing. And so I didn't really have a lot of time for the winter outside of skiing before that. But as I've kind of grown up, got knocked out too many times on ski jumps, then I thought of chilled myself out a bit, and here we are. But yeah, so I began in well, just the year before the Beast from the East, if any of you guys remember that. Then and so I was lucky to do a lot of my winter training stuff during the Beast for the East, and it meant while I was getting ready for my winter mountain leader qualifications that you need to take people out in the hills. I was getting blasted by 100-mile-an-hour winds and all these kind of things. But all it's done is just meant that I'm very ready to look after you guys and very comfortable in the environment. I've spent more days than I would like to remember in terms of doing night navigation and all kinds of stuff. But I just really, really love the Scottish winter environment and the kind of challenges that it offers, the existing in that kind of rarefied world of snow and ice and coldness and sometimes sunshine. So I'm just really looking forward to take people up there and to show you guys how it works.
Brilliant. So the idea behind the Winter Warrior Challenge from my perspective was to give the guys that train at Strength and some other people in general a real taste of an expedition. I've never done any winter stuff myself, so I'm really looking forward to doing it. I've only ever been in the heat, which obviously has a totally different sort of challenges to it. So, I'm looking forward to this as well. So just to give the guys an idea, what sort of experience would they need if they wanted to get involved with the challenge? What kind of experience would you be looking for? What sort of fitness level does it require? Do I need to be like, I don't know, do I need to be like one of those guys on the Netflix, things where they're free climbing, or can I just go because I like to, backpack round, Hartford every now and again?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, yeah, without wishing to downplay the thing or not to burst anyone's illusions, but we are basically winter walking is what we're doing. So we'll be using crampons, spiky things that go on your feet. We'll be using ice axe, and we'll be, using winter boots. These are things we'll have to hire and we'll pick them up when we're up there. But it is essentially a walking thing. So really, if anyone's got any experience of walking up hills, to be honest, it doesn't matter that much if you haven't, if you've got a decent level of fitness. But the big difference with, say, winter to summer would be if you were to go to Scotland and walk up somewhere like Ben Nevis, you'd be out walking for, depending on who you are, it might take you, say, 5 hours to get to the top or something like that. We're effectively going to be walking from, we'll go out in the morning pretty early. So we could be going maybe out for about 12 hours, something along those lines. So if you're comfortable just to be moving each day, we'll be going at quite a slow pace. But because of the snow, then it is a bit more challenging in the summer because your kind of feet slide a bit as you're walking up. So, covering the same distance in the summer versus the winter. But generally speaking, anyone with a decent level of fitness who's able to just walk, carrying a bit of a bag for most of the day should be totally fine, really, I think. Yeah. So it's very accessible. I would say that most people I'm guessing, most guys who are training regularly, the videos I've seen of you guys and the things you're picking up and wandering around with, then I'm sure you'd all be totally fine.
Yeah, the guys are going to be fine with it. Edd. So I've actually brought a few people, or I've referred a few people to Edd for expeditions before. So he knows the sort of caliber, the caliber of sort of, for want of a better word, athlete that we're producing. So he knows, he's done a couple of treks with Will, and or he's done a trek with Will. He's done a trek with Spice as well, which some of you guys will know. And they to be fair, I think it's fair to say those guys smashed it when they were out there. So they're slightly rarefied beasts, but I don't think anyone that has shown an interest or wants to show an interest will have any problem with the fitness thing, having spoke to Edd and gone through it. So the next question, I suppose, really from my perspective and for the guys is, what does it entail? What are we, kind of, you said about the whole winter walking, but you mentioned maybe doing some activities when we're sort of up in the hills, up in the mountains. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. So the main gist of what we're going to be looking at is winter skills really, and they're the skills that we need to keep ourselves safe in the winter mountains. Obviously, I'll be there kind of keeping you guys safe, but we'll be learning about stuff like avalanche protocols, how to read an avalanche forecast, how to avoid areas that might be dangerous because of that sort of thing. Again, that's, to be honest, it's quite easy. I can show you all that. There's little tips and tricks on how to sort of, the kind of thing you wouldn't think of, but like if you imagine if you're walking up and you saw a boulder at the side of the path, that is just a mini mountain. So by looking at that boulder, we can see where the wind has blown, we can see where it's dropped the snow and where it's pushed it off and all of that stuff. And that tiny example of as we're walking in will give us an example of where we can avoid and where we're going to stay too. So these are like little things that you might not have thought about. So we're going to learn about that. We're going to be looking at skills. So the skills come around the use of the crampons, so how to walk in crampons, how to put them on, how to take them off, and how to do all that stuff safely, how to kind of go up the steeper slopes. We're going to use the ice axe, so things like how to stop yourself if you slipped. So if you slid on some slippery stuff, you'd be able to do what we call an ice axe arrest, or how to do things like cut steps, because sometimes you get to a steep slope and maybe it's too steep for you to walk up without slipping. So what you do is you get the axe and you'll chop little ledges, and then you basically step up on those ledges as you do it. So we're going to look into that. We'll be also looking at once we get up into the hills, depending on the level of snow that we've got available, we'll also be looking at the options of how to dig emergency shelters. So we've got shovels, we've got snow saws. So we'll be learning how to cut blocks of ice and make shelters and build things for in case you got stuck out. Now, we won't be physically sleeping out, but we will, have a go at building those things and see how we get on. And then part of the aim as well is to do some night navigation, which in itself is quite challenging. But that will be where we're literally wandering around in the dark with the head torches. But again, when we do that, we'll be really close together, because part of the stuff in the winter mountains is it can be kind of disorientating, but it's the interesting part when it's all white and everything's white around you. Then it's a bit tricky to navigate sometimes. We're going to do that, and then other than that, we'll also try and get ourselves up some of the hills. So we'll kind of be doing this all as part of a journey, So we're walking in, aiming to get up to the top, and on the way we'll kind of stop at certain places where it works, and we'll try out some of those skills and see how people get on with it. And then we'll also keep our eyes peeled for some of the winter wildlife. Like if we're lucky, we might see some ptarmigan, which is kind of like a grouse, but it basically changes color to white during the winter. So during the summer months, it's kind of browny colored, and then in the winter it turns to white. And the same as you get mountain hares as well, that in the summer, your classic hair color, and then they turn white during the winter, which is kind of a really cool thing when you see stuff like that.
I didn't know that. Yeah, that's a good one. I've never heard of that. Excellent. Okay, good. Is there any? So I've got a question from Nikki, who's put herself down to get on board. She asked, is there any sort of specific clothing or anything that she needs to think, or we as a team need to think about bringing? I'm thinking like, will we need a backpack, a day pack? Do I just take up my bag for life, or what? What's going to be relevant for this one, Ed?
Yeah, well, I'll send round anyone who signs up. We'll send you a full kit list that will give you everything on there. And obviously, if anyone has any questions about any of that kit, you can give me a shout. Because you have my number. You can just give me a call and we can talk you through anything. But the main gist is that the key technical items, so the boots, the crampons, and the ice axes, we will that's part of the cost of the thing, and it will be hired up in Fort William, and we'll just basically be picking that up. So once you sign up, we'll need your shoe size so we can get those things ordered and ready for us when we're there. But then bag wise, yes, we'll need a day bag, and it will need to be fairly big. I'll put on, so bags come in litre sizes, so they tend to have a little thing written on the back of them. It might say a 20 or 18 or 50 or whatever, and that's the amount of size inside the bag. So I'll put down the sort of size of bag we're looking for, and if you might have one of those already, or if not, then if you went to a shop, you could tell them that stuff and they'd know exactly what we were talking about. And then really outside of that, the main thing is going to be a bit of quantity. Again, I'll put this on the kit list, but it's stuff like we might take 4 pairs of gloves, because you will start walking in the morning, and if it's damp and then your hands get wet and we dig a shelter or something, your gloves might get soaked, and then we swap them out and we'll put a new pair of gloves on in the afternoon. And then we've got a spare pair of gloves for if those 2 pairs of gloves have got wet, we got one of them with us, and then we got another one for the next day, and that sort of thing. So we take a fair bit of quantity with us. And then the only other thing, normal hill walking stuff, so you'd have fleeces, trousers, you'll need waterproofs, you'll need waterproof top, bottoms, and gaiters, which are kind of things that go around the boots that stop the snow coming into your boots, basically. But
not to be confused with Crocs.
No, not
take those. Don't take those.
No, you can have them for the youth hostel. That'd be good. But yeah, so we'll have that stuff, and the other thing will be some ski goggles. So but ideally like low light lenses, so sort of either clear or kind of orangey ones that you get, not the, if you go skiing in the Alps or whatever, you'll see the big fancy reflective ones. Well, unfortunately Scotland tends not to be quite like that, so that'll be more for when we've got 50-mile-an-hour gale blowing towards you and you're trying to see where you're going, so you've got those on to keep you nice and blocked up. But yeah, so it's not tons of specialist equipment, because most of what there is that's specialist will be provided as part of it, but there'll be a full kit list, and any questions just let me know, basically.
Perfect. Yeah, I think I think one of the things that you've taught me, having done a couple of these with you now, is that it's just best to be prepared in advance. So obviously, Ed's going to provide us with a kit list, but he'll answer any questions. You can ask me if you want, but I'll only refer you to Ed. The one thing he always does is make sure that you're prepared, make sure that you've sort of gone through your kit, everything's, you've got everything that you need. And to be honest, there's such a big community here. If you are short on a few bits and pieces, that you might be able to borrow some stuff. So like, I've got a couple of quite large backpacks that I picked up through various different, treks and whatnot, that are still in good condition. So if someone wants to borrow one for me or whatever it might be, if you kind of, there's potential to pick up bits of kit from various different places. So we can fix that. In terms of so one of the reasons why we're doing it as well is because, obviously strength and the outdoor stuff that we do is all built around that idea of resilience. And it's funny there, you said, when you've got 50-mile-an-hour winds or whatever blowing in your face, it immediately it doesn't seem like massive amounts of fun. But I guess that's part of these expeditions, right? Is like the one thing I've taken from, and again, I've never done a winter, I've never done anything in the winter with Ed, I've never been through those conditions, but one thing I've done in the heat with Ed is I realized that it's really good for kind of building your own sort of personal mental resilience. And I think, we try and cultivate that through our training, we cultivate that through the winter training outside and everything, but this is just another way for you to develop yourselves, for want of a better word, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, build your resilience. It is going to be tough. And going into these things knowing it's tough, I think is good, because obviously, we know it's going to be hard, but we're going to do it anyway. So I think if you're into that, then there's definitely something you're going to take away from this trek. The one thing we always do at the end is we always have a little debrief, and Ed will lead the debrief, and it's crazy when you go around the group with everyone. Like, everyone takes something very different from these expeditions, from these experiences, and I've no doubt that you're all going to take something very special away from it. It's definitely something you won't forget. So if this sounds good, get yourself signed up. We've got really, really limited spots. This, we hope, is the first of many of these types of expeditions, adventures that we're going to work with Edd on moving forward. Just so you know, everything is done through Edd's company. So, he will get all the various documentation out to you. He'll let you know about insurances and all these other bits and pieces, all the boring paperwork stuff Edd will take care of. Kat, again, is good. I don't know if Kat's working on this so much, but Kat's a good resource. She helps a lot with the paperwork stuff. If there are ever any questions, I'm happy for you to come to me, but all I'm going to do is refer you guys onto Edd if it's about the practicalities of what we're doing when we're up in Aviemore. But like I say, I'm always here if it's things like, getting your payments on, travel, all these other bits and pieces, then what we'll probably do is collaborate. I know a few people are flying up. Some people might want to drive. What I would say is whatever we do, let's just make sure that we're communicating as a team, because there's no point 3 people taking a car up to Scotland or whatever. If we could just hire a minibus and get one person to drive, or for example. Personally, I think I'm going to fly, but like I say, we'll think about that close to the time. But we don't leave it too late, because obviously time's ticking, and it'll be jammed before we know it. So I think we agreed a date, didn't we, Edd? Is that right?
Yes, we did. Sorry, you've
I dropped you in it. I dropped you in it because I haven't got it written down either in front of me. But I think it's
the second weekend of January, whatever that has to be.
Yeah. So it's Thursday to Sunday, right?
Yes, that's right. So it's a Thursday to a Sunday, but effectively the Thursday was
travel day.
It was going to be like the travel up day sort of thing. So you got to travel up and travel back pretty much. I'll just get my calendar out here. I'm going to be up there anyway, so I'm going up the weekend before, so that I'm kind of up there ready to go, and also it means that I'll have the best of the local conditions going on as well. So I will have been out already. So I'll be traveling up myself on something like the 5th of January, which is a Friday before, but we're running from the 11th to the 14th of January. Yeah, Thursday to a Sunday. And what we will do is effectively Thursday and Sunday are more or less the travel days, but it means on Thursday night, we will need you to get there early enough that we can get into the shops to pick up our hire stuff, so that we can start early on Friday. And then also what it will allow us to do is I can then, if you've got any queries about kit, like should I have these trousers or those trousers, just bring them both, and then I'll go through it with you that night and we can get ready for the next day. So that's why we want to kind of hit the ground running on Friday. We're going to have a long day on Friday, and then we're going to be out till fairly late, and then we'll have another big day on the Saturday and finish with a kind of a evening, as Brett said, kind of debrief and chat and meal and all of that kind of stuff. And it will be, although it doesn't sound like a lot, after those 2 days, you'll feel like you've been up there for quite a while, and you will have experienced a lot of things, I'm sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, it'll be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, these like I say, these have genuinely been, life-changing and mindset-changing expeditions for me. The ones that I've been on with Edd, I can't wait to do this one. I'm really looking forward to it. I know you guys are going to get so much out of it. So don't waste your time. I'm going to put a link at the bottom here, so you can follow that. You can put your name down, get on the waiting list. There's only a few spots left. Genuinely, only a few spots left. So make sure that you commit. And essentially, how we're going to do it is the people that sort of pay first will get their position secured. But some people have already booked their flights. I paid and booked their flights up. So, there's a few limited spaces left. But get on it. You're going to love it. And can't wait to get going. We're going to keep reminding you about stuff, and I'm going to keep sending out emails, and I'll probably even touch base with Edd again just before maybe December time, to go through a few more questions. I'm sure this is going to lead into a load more questions from everybody. But for now, I'm going to let Edd go. He's probably got to go and make a fire somewhere or something. I don't know whatever, eat some bush tucker trial or something. whatever crazy stuff he's up to. So I'm going to leave you there, Ed, mate. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you.
And I probably won't see you in the flesh before January. But we'll catch up with you again in a few weeks' time when we've got a bit more info from the team, and we'll hopefully have a crew of people. What we'll probably do is try and get a joint meeting up and running so that people can join and ask questions. And
yeah, that'll be great. We want people signed up, and like I say, as you've said, not many spaces left, but as soon as we've got them in, first thing I need is people's shoe sizes, please, and then we'll get all that kit booked. Superb. All right, mate. Thanks for your time, and I'll speak to you soon, bro. Take care. All right, cheers. Thanks a lot, mate.
Right. Bye. Bye.